everybody, I'm Soben Ung. I have a special guest with me today, Madame Musuhur. Last year I spoke with her via Zoom. Thankfulness now, as the COVID curved down, we able to meet in person. We'll follow up. Since last year, a lot had happened. Politics change every day in Cambodia as well as abroad. And today we wanted to learn, after the split of the two leaders, CNRP, Sam Rainsy and Kamsaka, in the recent week, we wanted to know what's the future of the CNRP will be like. And as an elected member of parliament living in exile, what are the political steps in coming back into the country? So let's welcome Madame Musuhur. Thank you for meeting with me today, and it's so nice to finally sit one-on-one with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you again.
I have so many questions, but I think to start with, like just last week alone, the big news happened on social media as Mr. Kamsaka broke his silence the first time since he was under house arrest. That telling Mr. Sam Rainsy to stop using his picture. He didn't issue it in the official letter. There was no video conference. It was just one Facebook posting. How do you interpret this?
Well, it's quite easy. So when, like everybody else who believes in justice, a man is under arrest. He has been in the arrest. Although he can now travel freely in the country, but he cannot go outside of Cambodia. He cannot get involved in politics. He cannot meet his members. He's not a free man. To us, a free man is someone who can meet with whoever he wants to meet with. And to us, Mr. Kem Sokha is still the president of the Cambodia National Rescue Party. To us, the CNRP still exists. And most important is that CNRP is in the heart of the people in Cambodia who want change, who want justice. So whatever Mr. Kem Sokha says, and the duress, meaning his case has not gone to trial yet. Is he talking about whatever he feels inside? Or is he talking under very difficult circumstances? But whatever he says, as long as he's not a free man, we can't take his words as coming from the bottom of his heart. And we know from the bottom of his heart, he wants to fight for justice, for democracy, for human rights.
But with this sort of splinter, we see a lot of diversion on social media, a lot of, including two of his daughters came out and took a pretty big jab at Mr. Sam Rainsy, and many people amplify that message, calling him all sorts of names, liar, racist, fool, fake. Who has the gain in this situation right now?
You know, we have to take democracy in the big picture. In the big picture, democracy is about human rights, the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly. We're talking about the everyday lives of our people. And how can we, as Democrats, who have fought for years, for over 20 years, to support a life of the people that is a life full of dignity, of honor. That's what we should be talking about. Personal matters exist in every party, and that's not what I'm interested in talking about. I'm interested in talking about democracy. I'm interested in getting our people, the Khmer people, inside and outside of Cambodia, talk about one common goal, positive change for the people of Cambodia, and as well as for Khmer people outside of Cambodia. We have a past that still haunts us, and that past haunts us because this is a past that was so atrocious, that is past that kills over 2 million of our people. And we have worked for the past 30 years to wash off that past by believing in ourselves, by believing in our country, our identity, building on the strengths of our people. That's what we should be talking about. The strength of the people of Cambodia, Khmer people inside and outside of Cambodia. That's what we should be talking about, not personal issues.
Many people question the legitimacy of CNRP being outside. How can you continue to operate? They claim that this is an underground movement. It's not legitimate. Can you explain to that?
The legitimacy comes from the people of Cambodia, inside and outside of Cambodia. The legitimacy comes from what we believe in. And to us, personally, I am still an elected representative of the people in Cambodia and outside of Cambodia. Why? Because we were elected in 2013 at the national election. And our seats, our positions were taken away against the Constitution. That we cannot accept. We are not former CNRP. We are CNRP. We are the Cambodia National Rescue Party. I just came back from a long tour in Europe. Wherever I go, people recognize me, address me as the Vice President of the CNRP, and recognize what I have done to promote democracy, and recognize me as a Member of Parliament. I went to visit members of Parliament at the European Parliament. We address each other as elected representatives of the people, of our own people. The Interparliamentary Union, IPU, that represent members of Parliament throughout the world, still support us, still put our cases up to their Human Rights Committee of IPU because of the human rights violations that we have suffered, which means that they recognize us, they consider us, they speak with us, they communicate with us as members of Parliament. I have no question about the legitimacy of the country, the party, as well as the legitimacy of the members of Parliament that represent the CNRP. Whatever people say, I am not interested in. I'm interested in working together as Democrats, working as Khmer people inside and outside of Cambodia to find solutions.
In fact, they just have a mass treason trial just happened yesterday in Cambodia, including a well-known Cambodian American civil rights lawyer, Terry Singh, and 41 other members of CNRP supporter who also were summoned to court. Because this is not the first trial. They have been doing this in a series of mass trials since the Thanksgiving Day last year, and they have been broken down into a series of court hearings, and many of them quietly have been putting away in jail. At this point, we don't even have a number how many people are in prison. So in your view, the situation in Cambodia right now, and with this court, what Terry called it's a show. How likely is it that for the CNRP to be able to continue their work, being constantly getting harassed and taken to court and put in prison?
You know, CNRP, as I said before, is illegitimate party. It is the only opposition party in Cambodia. Whether we are inside Cambodia or outside of Cambodia, we continue to represent the people, to address the needs of the people. Like we're talking about the mass trial. We're talking about a justice system that is so corrupt, that is so under the power of the strong man Hun Sen. And I would not call him the Prime Minister of Cambodia. Please don't call him the Prime Minister of Cambodia. He is not. He competed with himself, by himself, with his own party. Is that a competition? Is that free and fair elections? Is that, and the results of the election comes out very clearly that Cambodia now is a one-party state. Therefore, yes, he is not a legitimate leader of Cambodia. So the justice system, if it continues that way, will take Cambodia down, farther down to a country that will be, at some point, will be in real chaos. It's a justice system that maintains, that helps to preserve the power of the dictator. Is not a justice system. That's number one. And that's why we need to confront these judges. Like, we are not able to, we're not allowed to go back to Cambodia to defend ourselves in court. That's not the first time, that's the second time. But we will continue to defend our right for fair trial, due process. If we give up, then that means we give in. That means the justice system will never get reformed. The people of Cambodia will continue to suffer from a justice system that is not competent, that is corrupt, that is a political weapon for Mr. Hun Sen. That's a justice system. Hun Sen has said very clearly many times that he will use any means possible to eliminate his opponent through a corrupt court. And the recent killing is not just a killing, but it's the most brutal way. A member of our party, a young man, again and again, Mr. Hun Sen tells the world that he will not tolerate dissidents. He will not dare to compete in free and fair elections. So that's the second point. The second point is we demand free and fair elections. We want an environment in Cambodia, a political, social, and economic environment that leaves room for our people to express themselves. We want a political environment that is conducive to free, fair, and just elections, to end this culture of impunity and to end this regime that will take Cambodia back, so far back. I wouldn't say to the return of the Khmer Rouge, but to silence our people this way, to let our people live in fear, to continue to live in fear, that is not a solution for our people.
The 2013 election, CNRP have won nearly half of the voice in the country, although at that moment, I was myself observing the number that report coming in, the first result that the CNRP had the majority, but the announcement came after the number flipped the other way, that the CPP had the majority, but even then, the CNRP still a certified result at 45%. of the member parliament seats. That's still big change that we didn't see since 1993, the first United Nations sponsored election. That to have that's some kind of a result like that, divided between two parties. But then, how did it come down from, nearly 50% of the voice of the seat down to everybody got exiled, the party got dissolved? What do you think the lesson you have learned from that election in preparing to the next one?
It's a very good question. And it's a lesson that we all must learn, not about Cambodia, not in Cambodia as well, because we know that around the world is moving toward authoritarian regime, not toward democratic regime. Why? Because the dictators learn from each other. The dictators are not afraid to kill, to eliminate, and to use a superpower, China, to back them. As Democrats, what we have to learn is that we have to say to each and every one of us, like for Cambodia, Khmer, inside or outside of Cambodia, we are part of building democracy. It's not about a party building democracy. It's not about a person, a group of people building democracy. It's about all of us to stand up for your own rights and to stop living in fear. If Khmer people in outside of Cambodia are still haunted by the name of Hun Sen, are still afraid to be seen with us because they cannot return to Cambodia, and Hun Sen will watch them, what does it say about democracy? So we have to empower our people, and how to empower is to keep repeating again and again about their rights that are recognized by our constitution and by international laws. The freedom of expression, the right to life, quality of life, the freedom from living not in fear, but in respect for each other, opinions and voice and minds. That is something that we have to practice. And in a Khmer community, we based our judgment, our decision so much on rumors. And you know that Hun Sen is very capable of spreading any kind of rumors. And they occupy the entire media in Cambodia with the fresh news, mainly fake news, and the television. Now they have telecommunication laws that will allow the government to look into your private conversation, to control your life. And that is something that we as individuals, as citizens, each citizen must say no. We cannot accept that every conversation that we have can be monitored, is monitored and reported to Hun Sen. Each one of us must say no.
With the military junta visit Phnom Penh this week, you sharply criticize this visit. What do you see the danger of Hun Sen association himself with another dictator?
Unfortunately, Cambodia will chair the next ASEAN summit in 2022. Why do I say unfortunately? Unfortunately, because the world, the region has allowed another dictator to chair. Hun Sen stole the votes Cambodia is a one-party state. Hun Sen is very well known for the tricks, for the manipulations, for the control that he has over national institutions in Cambodia. Now he's going to use the same tricks to manipulate ASEAN. And by going to Myanmar, he will go to teach the military junta in Myanmar the same tricks. This is when ASEAN as a whole must say very clear, loudly, must object to Hun Sen going to Myanmar on the 7th and 8th of January. While the atrocities, the hundreds and thousands of lives in Myanmar, of the people of Myanmar are at stake. But Hun Sen going to Myanmar to speak with another dictator, the military junta, it says to Hun Sen has no consideration for the lives of the people of Myanmar. He's not going to, when Hun Sen should be going to Myanmar but speaking with the national unity government, with the parallel government of Myanmar that represent the people of Myanmar, and not to work with the illegitimate government of Myanmar headed by the military leader.
I just have two more questions. One question will be in relation to, similar to Myanmar, that they have a shadow government. The party that won an election has been coup, now operating as a shadow government. Should Cambodia have something like that? For instance, CNRP. What is your opinion on this?
Personally, I don't think that will resolve the problem. I think we should put all our efforts into building democracy, pushing for our people to have the right to speak, to stand up, and to have a shadow government and CNRP as shadow government. I believe we need to also communicate with the people of Cambodia, and to communicate and ask freely to represent the people. At this moment, it's not a communication that is allowed for us to do. Like us in Myanmar, the NUG people are inside Myanmar. They can communicate. For us, we can't. And the complication also is that we are very close to an election. I think we should be dealing with an environment that is free, conducive for free and fair election. We should be talking about our right to return to Cambodia and to compete in an election that is free and fair. And that will resolve the situation, rather than we don't have enough time to create a shadow government.
And finally, are you confident that the Exile CNRP leaders, yourself and Rainsy, able to return for this coming election?
For the past 4 years since we have been in exile, we have accomplished a lot. Can you imagine all of us in Cambodia, in jail, we giving up on CNRP? It would have been a total silence. CNRP would not exist at all at this moment. But with us in exile, we have been able to expand CNRP in America. We have 45 chapters. We have been able to expand CNRP overseas. We have chapters in Australia, in New Zealand, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Korea, in Japan. in Europe, huge, CNRP overseas, CNRP America, CNRP as a whole, we have been able to function strongly and to represent the people, the Khmer people outside of Cambodia. We will continue to work with the US Congress. We will continue to work with the European Union. We will continue to work with the Australian government that has just adopted the Magnitsky law, which would allow the government of Australia or any government that has the Magnitsky Act to impose targeted sanctions against those who have undermined democracy or who are involved in corruption, those who are placed at the high level of a regime.
I have one more follow-up to that. Do you think that the global Magnitsky sanction doing enough of a job in sanctioning the corrupted official in Cambodia, ones that have already been on Human Rights Watch list? I think there was one report came out called the Hun Sen Dirty Dozens. We didn't see those individuals were sanctioned, and they put two other on this year that people, those two individuals were corrupted but didn't have a human rights abuse history. So that's kind of made some people question, was there a legitimate pathway in reporting these people?
Magnitsky Act is not just about undermining democracy. It also includes corruption. It also includes land grabs and deforestation. So if you are on the blacklist of any country, you personally cannot enter that country, including your immediate members of family members, and your assets, and those guys have assets. The ill-gotten wealth that they have stacked away in American banks, Swiss banks, wherever, they will no longer have access to those fortunes. That hurts them personally. What is good about the Magnitsky Act, these targeted sanctions, is that it doesn't hurt the people of Cambodia, but it hurts the bank accounts and the travel, the movement of these guys who have more than stolen money from the country, who have destroyed the forest, who are involved in human rights. You name it, they have done enough damages. It is time for them to be punished, and punished in a way that does not punish others. They have to be held responsible, and we want to put more names on the list, and our names will be those who are involved in the justice system of Cambodia. The judges who are assigned to our cases, these political cases, those judges are part of our committing human rights violations. We want to put them on the blacklist as well.
I want to say thank you for your time and meeting with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, that's it, folks, with me today. I'll see you next time. Thank you.